We've been searching for our perfect apartment. We found one we liked. We met with the landlord, and we're so excited to move in. And then we get this. This is a lease agreement. It's a contract between the landlord and you as the lessee or tenant. Those two words can be used interchangeably. You can say, I am the tenant, or I am the lessee. Now, in this lease agreement, there are quite a few pages. And you'll notice very quickly the terms used can be difficult because a written agreement is very different than everyday English. It is very descriptive and it goes into great detail. So we could spend a long time going over a lease agreement, yet we're not going to do that because it would get boring very fast. So this lease agreement will be available for you to look over yourselves, but we're just going to go through some of the major points in the agreement.
We are going to look over an example of a lease agreement. And I've pulled out a few of the main points that I feel like you should know. So the first point on this basic example lease agreement, it says, number 1, identification of parties and premises. A party is the person involved. So parties are all the people involved. Okay, so we are going to identify who is part of the agreement and where is the agreement, the premises. Remember, we used that before in our last lecture, the premises, which is the area that it will be situated at. So this is who, identifying who, and identifying where it will be. It says this agreement is made and entered into this, you fill in the day of the month, 2000 and the year, between the following named persons. So in this line, we write the tenant's name. It's saying herein called tenants. Herein is not a word we would use in common everyday speech, but it is used for writing a document. Again, herein called landlord, and we would fill in the landlord's name. So this is just telling who is involved in this document, in this agreement. Subject to the terms and conditions set forth in this agreement, landlord rents to tenants and tenants rent from landlord. The premises located at, and you write the address of the place, the apartment, or the house that you would be renting. And in the rest of the document, this address will be called the premises. Okay? It's very complex speech, very complex way of just saying, this is where we have agreed to have a rental agreement. This is where, and this is who. So it's just setting up who is involved in this agreement. Then it says, the premises shall be occupied only by the above mentioned tenants. So you are not allowed to have any other roommates come live with you in this place, on this premises, except whose names are written on this document. Tenants shall use the premises for residential purposes only. Residential purposes are for a living space. This means you cannot run a business out of the house. You cannot use it for any purpose other than a place of residence, a place of living. Occupancy by guests for more than 10 days in a 6-month period is prohibited. If you occupy a space, you take up that space. So if a guest, a person, comes in and occupies this premises with you for more than 10 days within a 6-month period, you need to have the landlord's written consent, his permission. If someone stays with you as a guest for more than 10 days, you are breaching the agreement. If you breach it, you're breaking it. You're not keeping it. Maybe in your culture, where you're from, having guests often stay overnight at your place is a common thing. This is not acceptable within this culture. The way these contracts are set up and the agreements you write, you may want to make a different agreement. If you like to have guests many times, if you know that your mom is going to be coming and staying with you for a month, then you would need to let the landlord know, and before you sign a contract, you need to agree with him that my mom will come stay with me for a month, so that you do not break the contract. Term of the tenancy. The term of this agreement shall commence on or begin. If you commence it, you begin it. You start it. It will begin on this date and shall continue from that date for a period of however many months, expiring on this day. So if you're doing a 12-month lease, you would commence it, let's say, May of 2015. And it will or shall continue from that day in May of 2015 for a period of 12 months, and it will expire or end or finish on April of 2016. Should you, as the renter, vacate or leave before the expiration of the term, before this end date, the expiring or finish date, if you leave before that date, the tenant shall be liable for the balance of the rent for the remainder of the term. Liable means you're responsible for it. By law, you need to pay the remaining amount, the rest of the amount that you agreed to. So if you sign a contract for a whole year, but you only stay in there for 8 months and you decide you found a better apartment somewhere else and you want to leave, you are liable, you are responsible to pay the landlord for the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th months, even if you leave before then.
We learned the word party. Woohoo! Right? party? No. Sorry. When you do a lease agreement, it's not that kind of party. It's a party as the people involved in the agreement. So lease agreements, they're difficult. Yet something important for you to remember is if you don't understand something, don't sign it. Ask the owner. Ask questions. If you don't understand any word in this, you're learning lots of more formalized vocabulary. So just ask questions.